Good evening. Welcome to Rugby AM. So many people say to me, "Why is it Rugby AM when it's on a night time?" And like Pete said earlier, but just to make you all aware, hopefully one day we'll get a morning TV show, and then it'll make sense. If we don't, then it won't, and that's that.
We did start on Friday morning.
We did start on a Friday. We started on Wednesday morning. It started on Wednesday, then Friday, then back, and then it's been around the houses. Keith, you've been here since day dot.
We have debut. We used to meet at. We were supposed to start at 7 in the morning. One where you were never on time.
I used to go out the night before. I've been in a few bad states as well. And I woke up in a few bad states on the radio in the morning a few times. But we've had some fun times. Remember Boxing Day with Matt Lewis? Yeah. Christmas. First time I met Chew Dog's dad. Came along like a super fan. Hi, Matt. I like you. That was quite funny. And then we got my little Josh. Josh came along, the entire old bacon neck. I said to him the other day, why would you actually call yourself bacon neck? And he says, because when I play football, I've got a thick neck, and people said it looked like bacon. Shows you. Look at.
I didn't call myself it. I got called that. Just.
Look at his feet. He's looking at it.
Is that why you've got a tattoo Danish on the side of your neck?
Yeah, I thought we're hiding that one, but yeah.
Going to crack on with the show tonight. Keith, Jonesy, we was talking then about Junior Rugby League. Who's asked the question, Chewy?
Ryan Hunkin.
What? Chewy's just stood up and nearly wraps headphones on his neck and on himself.
It's how he's talking, and then all of a sudden he puts his mic voice on.
That's why they call me schoolboy.
Who's that? Austin. Ryan Hunkin basically said about turn the bloody phone off. Ryan Hunkin said about Junior Rugby League, Jonesy, because obviously I'm coaching Stanley under-8s, and I'll tell you what, we played, I think, the best team I've ever seen for an under-8s team ever on this weekend. We got hammered 9 or 10-0 by East Leeds, and Killer's son Kai, if he don't make it to play for Great Britain or England, whoever, I'll quite happily now go and put a bet on £100 that he'd play for England.
How old is he?
He's 8, and he's absolutely. He's Jermaine Ray. Jermaine Ray used to play. What is it? His nickname's Killer growing up, but he's not just class on the pitch, but off. He watches rugby like I know his mum pretty well, and I know we used to live together, me and his mum, and not like that. And she says that he just watches rugby, he analyses rugby, and it's great to see kids of that age. But Stanley got a real lesson this weekend. Even when you walk out on pitch and you see they've got a few big lads and a few little lads, and you think, obviously they've got 2 or 3 good, young lads, but then they're gonna have. A couple of them stand out. Even the little kids were class, like running the ball like steam trains. And I said to Killer, how have they got so good? They train twice a week. He says since they started training twice a week, the level. And honestly, they did a move where they just ran a simple drop off to Kai, and Kai literally ran all the way around. But then they did it twice, and they said, "Watch out when he does that drop off." So they ran the play again. Kai ran a dummy runner. Kid come through. Ran another dummy runner, and he passed it out wide. This little kid spun the ball out wide. Kid steaming that wing. Our lads were just like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. The plays, the level. They had 4 or 5 plays, and they executed them. No drop balls, playing knock-ons, playing touch. This is 8-year-old kids, and you see that level of skill at that age, and it's just so bright for the future. And the grassroots of the game, every club we've been to this year, been to 7 different teams. Every single team. Loads of kids, loads of age groups, loads of support from parents. I think the game's getting better and better from a grassroots level.
Yeah, big time, mate. I think what you're talking about there is frequency when you talk about how many times they're training each week, and it gives the coach an opportunity to get with them, show them some moves and some plays, and that's great. And it's good that his little lad there's enthusiastic about the game, watching the TV. When somebody loves it, they're naturally going to be pretty good. Just going back to your point about Primary Rugby League, which is basically a cut down version. So they play, instead of playing 8 or 10 aside, and getting maybe 3 or 4 runs a game and making 5 or 6 tackles. It's sort of 2 pitches split into 2, the team's split into 2, so you have 4v4, then a carousel where they move on, and then a 5v5, and they might move on again and play 4v4, and the idea is that they get more ball in hand, they make more tackles, they're getting more involvements, and again it's building that frequency, so they're getting more time with the ball. And I find, me personally, I don't know what Keith thinks, but all you've got to do as a coach is provide an environment for somebody to grow, and then they'll grow, they'll teach yourself. One of the best things about rugby league is how diverse everybody is. You can go around the whole game and everybody's got different talents, different attributes, and that's why rugby league's fantastic. So many people with different talents can show them in their own little way, and even young kids will see things that I've never seen before. So when we play these little small-sided games that I'm quite in favour of, especially at the grassroots level, we see young kids get the ball and just go play and teach themselves. That's great that they're getting showed plays. There'll come a point where if you manufacture stuff, show kids too much, they'll get caught up, because everybody will train twice a week when they start getting 8, 9, 10 years old. I think at such a young age it's just about getting the ball in their hands, letting them go out there, play, know the rules, know the movements, and they'll teach themselves.
I think it was great for our lads, because our lads have had a great start to the season. We've played 6, won 5, lost 1, narrowly to Unsplit Warriors. Came up against a team this weekend, far and above level. And I think it would have. I said to him afterwards, I got them all together. I says, look, you got to in order to learn to win, you got to learn to lose and take it on chin and realise that you've got to try and be better and better and better every week. And the thing is, what I noticed is that there were 3 players. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to call them out on radio. I'm not that kind of coach, you know what I mean? But there were 3 players who kept their head up, kept trying all the rest. The rest of the lads dropped their heads. Arts wanting it. They went down. And it just, and I says, they need to get over that mentality. When you've had a crushing defeat, how do you keep your head up?
I'm the same as I used to be, mate. When I used to get beaten as a kid, I used to cry. I'd run off pitch. We did Kippax this week, right, with my lad, when he played at Primary Rugby League, and there's a cricket pitch, and the cricket pitch has got nets round it to keep people off the crease.
Yeah.
And it's got big poles on it. And I remember playing in a semi-final for Stanley at Yorkshire. We got beat, and I run over, and I had like big steel toe cap boots and proper ankle rugby boots, and I booted this pole proper hard, hurt my toe, and I bent the steel bit of the booting, and I'll cry my eyes out. It's kick, scream, bite, punching. I hated it, losing. I had to win everything, and I'm very similar now, but I can't do that as an adult. I can't kick things in, so I go home and do chickens or catting or something like that. Instead,
Wow.
But no, I do. I get frustrated and angry, but obviously I'm an adult as well, and I put things, my faith in particular, puts things into perspective for me. But I think losing, like you said, Alex, totally agree. It's a massive part of success. You've got to learn how to lose and learn how you deal with it. You can't all do it the same. You can't force kids to do it the same, but you've got to learn how to do it properly.
I'd just like to point out that no animals were harmed during this production of Rugby AM.
Keith, what about you? Were you a good loser, Keith?
Well, as a sportsman, you never are. That's how you become a good sportsman, because you're very competitive. There's good and bad sport. There's good and bad losers. But if you're not competitive and you don't mind losing, then that's why you lose your competitive nature. So we're all the same with training and stuff like that, and that's why it brings the best out in you. And I just remember many times watching when Nick Scruton were injured, and we're talking about Jonesy himself. He hates to lose. Nick Scruton had just come back from an ankle injury, and we're doing some wrestling in padded room over in Linthwaite where we used to go wrestling, and Scroots were getting the best of Jonesy. He got his thick Polish arm round his neck, and he started squeezing him out, and Jonesy were losing. So what does Jonesy do best? He cheats. So he gets hold of Nick Scruton's ankle, starts twisting it, and he knew straight away that he shouldn't do it, but he just hated the fact that he were going to lose. And that's just the competitive nature, and that's another.
Do you remember that, Jonesy?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying, Simo.
I do, mate. And one of the worst moments of my career was very similar. I was in wrestle room against Kyle Luluai, and so I've got no chance anyway. And he had me pinned down and I couldn't move. And the only thing that sprung into my mind was to spit at him. and then my face was in front of him. I went, pfft, like that, and he moved, and I wriggled out and got back on top. And mate, my heart sank, because I thought, what have you just done? That is the lowest you can go. And I was texting him all day, mate, I'm really sorry. Being Kyle, he's a top bloke, he won't bother, he's laughed it off. But just when we was off listening to last song, I was speaking to Pete about when he does his gigs. Whenever you're competitive in life, you want to do well because you care. And I was saying, does he get nervous before he does his gigs? And the reason why he's so good, I think, is because he does care. He still tells me that he gets nervous, and when things don't quite go right, like when you lose a game, it's a long drive home, and that's if you're going to do well in life, you've got to have that mentality, haven't you?
Pete, it's like I'll be honest with you. I've never ever been a person that got nervous about any kind of gig or anything, and a lot of people say to me they get nervous, and I can't really relate to that because I've just always had. I don't know what it is. It must be some weirdness in my head where I just don't really fear failure as far as what anything I'm doing. I'm quite confident that it's going to be perfect. Even at Bradford this weekend, made a few boo-boos, but I knew that I'd smack it. But it's like with Pete, obviously, you've kind of fallen into it like I fell into DJing. Explain to me when you say like you get nervous, how do you overcome that, and how do you keep telling yourself you're getting better and better? And who's name your top 3 people you've been most nervous around for your gigs?
Probably one of them were 2 weeks ago, Vinnie Jones, because I went into Elland Road, and you're thinking they've not really come to listen to me. All the tickets have been sold because it's Vinnie Jones. There were nearly 1,000 people there, and I was doing comedy spot, and I'm thinking they won't want to listen to me. They want to listen to Vinnie. So you start thinking, I don't say you get doubts in your mind, but you probably get more nervous, and then it's a little bit like rugby really. When I used to play, I weren't a great player, but I psyched myself up the same, and I was thinking about it all the time, and I was thinking about that gig all week, and then I got up and I went down really well, and it was just a good feeling afterwards. But it's the fear of not doing well that makes you kind of get switched on, and you just kind of go into the zone. And then other things I've done, like probably the most nerve-wracking, where I did Theatre Royal with Johnny Vegas, and Johnny Vegas says, I'll go on first and then I'll introduce you. So I'm thinking, I don't want to follow Johnny Vegas. Nice. So then Johnny goes on, and I'm stood outside at curtain waiting for him, and he were a nervous wreck, believe it or not. I had to give him a cuddle before he went on. It's the first time he'd done stand-up for 10 years. So then he went on, and I'm waiting in the wings to go on, and he got about 5 minutes in, and I thought, he's going well here. Then he got about 10 minutes in, and he just carried on, and he did 25 minutes. He brought the house down, standing ovation, and I'm thinking, how can I go on after that? How can I follow him? But I went on, and they just asked me to leave, and they closed all auditorium, really. No, but I just went for it, and it was good. Yeah, it's good
so
feeling.
Can you tell us a joke? Tell us a joke, not a clean one.
I don't really tell any jokes, or do I? I just talk about...
You just waffle a lot.
That's just waffle a lot like I do here. Yeah. So I don't really tell jokes.
You must have a go-to joke.
I don't really. It's like, one of the things here, sat here next to these two, it's quite humbling, and I think they're both great blokes and that. And when I'm here and listening to them talking about rugby, I actually think, what am I doing sat here? And it's hard for me to listen to them talk about rugby and the great careers they've had, especially for me, because I wanted to emulate what they've done. And my career, and you probably don't know this, my career was tragically cut short at the tender age of just 21, when the coach of Illingworth Amateur Rugby League Club, he just never picked me again. So it is hard being here with these guys,
Bad.
You've got a Kleenex. I'm upset again.
Who else have you gotten nervous around? Because I see pictures of you and Sugar Ray Leonard. I've seen pictures of you and everyone. Who's been the most impressive person who you've met, who you thought, wow, what a bloke?
Probably Sugar Ray Leonard was my favourite, because when I met him, he was just so down to earth. He was like talking to you. Obviously, it was a bit harder than you, but...
I'd back myself against him in a fight.
Do you know something? Probably the hardest ones are the ones where you don't actually think you know that much about them. It were probably about 2 months ago. I went to Isle of Man, and I had to do an evening with Anne Widdicombe, and I had to interview her for it was like an hour slot. And I had to do a lot of homeworks, reading about politics and that. Yeah. And then the week before that, I'd done an interview with Frank Bruno, the former world heavyweight boxing champ. And I actually, when I introduced Anne Widdicombe, I said, last week I interviewed Frank Bruno. I said, but if I'm being honest, I'm more nervous tonight interviewing a woman at 5 foot who was a bit feisty than I were interviewing Frank. And then she knocked me out.
What was she like, Anne Widdicombe? Is she all right?
Yeah, she was lovely.
Who's been the most interesting person that you've interviewed? Listened to the stories and really been interested by what they've had to say. Who's been the best sort of after dinner speaker, so to speak?
Probably for me, Mike Tyson, because when I interviewed Mike Tyson, I tried to ask him different questions rather than the stuff that he'd get asked all the time. And it kind of engaged me straight away, because one of the things I asked him were about the charity set up, the Mike Tyson Cares, to help deprived children, in like Brooklyn and that. And as soon as I asked him about that, his face just changed and thought, hang on, how did he know that? And he really liked the fact that I knew about it. And he gets bad press everywhere he goes, and nobody, he don't really get any publicity for the good things that he's done like that. And I thought it was, rather than ask him everything that everyone else had asked him before, it seemed to go down well. He seemed to appreciate it, really.
Definitely.
Who's been the worst? Who's been the person it's been an absolute nightmare with?
Probably a bloke called Alex Simmons on Rugby AM. I don't know really. There's some people where you might interview somebody and they might not expand on their answers really.
Yeah.
No, there ain't really anyone who I've sort of disliked. There's ones where I've had to use a lot of the information that I've got.
Like what?
I can't think of any offhand.
He's in the Jonesy guys, you.
Yeah, I'm like Jones. I don't bag anyone. You never know when you might see them again.
True that. Right, we're going to play a quick game before the end. It said a game, who he said what or who said what. Are you ready to tell you? You've written it on the programme.
I hope we didn't have time for that. I thought it was really good when I did it, and I looked at it when we come in here and I thought, that's shocking.
It's not like you used to have a shocking game, Tyre.
Well, you have off days sometimes, I've been feeling a bit under the weather, so anyway. Right. Been on Twitter, a bit like a week in tweets, but on a different angle.
Go on then.
So tell me, who tweeted this very serious issue? Why don't hotels have plug sockets at the side of their bed anymore? Grrr.
I think that was Ryan Atkins, wasn't it? I think I saw that today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Ryan Atkins.
He's been on a Sparky course. He's been learning to be an electrician. That's his life after rugby. He's really looking forward to his life after rugby as an electrician.
Yeah, so going on that, it's like, what's the worst things about when you're away and you're staying in hotels if you're playing for England and you're going on your trips or your camps at the start of the year?
In Dubai? Shall I talk about it? The best thing about Dubai is the girls. Simple.
I said the worst things.
Oh, the worst thing is the girls they have to pay for.
It's all going downhill now.
It's after
it's
the
past
watershed.
9 o'clock. We're after the watershed. Yeah.
No, that's a joke. No, the joke of that is the fact that in Dubai you can't tell which are real girls and which are the girls you pay for.
You've told us this. The ones that don't take your money off you are the real girls.
I wouldn't do that because I'm in love.
This week, right? We'll move on to the next one then. Who tweeted out, running a sweepstake at training for the Grand National, £2 entry, and Tom Orbison asked if he can pay in instalments. Hashtag tighter than cramp.
So who does he play for tomorrow? Bradford?
Yeah, you were shouting his name out on yesterday.
Yeah, he was crap.
I think I'm going to go... Can I answer?
Go yeah, of course you can.
I'll go Adam O'Brien.
No.
I'm going to go sweepstake Luke Gale because he's the gambling man of Bradford.
It was Luke Gale.
Yep. And now we're stuff with the Bradford boys.
So Tom Orbison's a bit tight, is he? Right then. Who tweeted out, well, me walking around Meadowhall and trying to find where I parked is near impossible.
Got me something like Ryan Hall on it.
So in a bit gormless who's parked the car, of course shopping and can't remember where he's parked it.
Ryan Hall, Alex Wormsley.
Luke O'Donnell.
Oh, brave Jonesy.
Come a long way to Meadowhall.
Sam Burgess.
Can you score it?
It's so in this country. Meadowhall's in Sheffield.
No, you don't get it.
Two wavelengths.
Me and Jonesy are just on his own wavelength for you.
Oh, Jordan Tansey. Have I got it yet?
Go on then.
Hi, Jordan.
Is it Jordan?
Oh, if we'd have carried on, Keith. If we'd have carried on, one more name, we'd have got it.
No, it wasn't him.
Top 5 names. Go on.
It was Zach Hardacre.
Alright, fair enough, I'll show them.
Yeah, that sounds like Zach actually.
Right then. And finally, this is a swear word that I'll have to change. Think it's gob poo. Think it's gob poo that there was no footage of a Challenge Cup on telly last night, nor is there any tonight. It's up posted on Saturday. Who's not happy with the lack of Challenge Cup coverage on the TV?
Me. But it me?
It wasn't you Wally.
I'm saying. I'm sure I tweeted something very similar.
It was Jared Sammett.
Cheers for letting us guess.
Yeah, thanks for letting us all have an answer there. I think Gammon Neck's getting a bit bored now.
Did I bought myself with that?
Let's. We got a quick couple of fans' questions from Bob the Fish. I believe he's sent. Because we got last week we did no fans' questions because Tuduk said they were all rubbish, right? So we did no fans' questions, and I got hammered on Twitter by people saying, "Why were there no fans' questions?"
And you know this week?
Yep.
No one sent any fans questions.
That's probably why, because we didn't do them last week.
We have had a couple.
Go on then.
Which I'll ask out. One from Emma Broadhead to Jonesy. If you weren't playing rugby league professionally, would you like to play any other professional sports?
Yes, any professional sport. I'm a competitor, so when I was a kid, it was all about winning for me. I just ended up playing rugby league, so I'm not good at football. But I'd love to any professional sport. I love all sports, so just getting wins for me.
Just tripping over everything in the studio there. Excuse me. Best one though that we've had so far tonight was from Bob the Fish, and he's asked to myself, Alex, and Tyre, if we played rugby, which position would we play? Because he's recruiting for next year.
If I play inside centre at Rugby Union, which is basically a prop, because you've got to that, and then at Rugby League I'll play anywhere in the pack apart from hooker or centre.
It's a pretty diverse answer.
Pretty diverse, yeah.
Utility.
Got good hands, haven't I? I've got good hands for a big lad. I've got good hands.
Ty, what about you?
I'd want to play like my hero, Keith at centre. Sort of keep out away a bit, and then you get a bit of glory, getting a few tries, and you can pass it out. Help you wing along the way as well.
What about you, Tudog?
Well, in my glory days when I was slim, I used to play on wing, and I used to be all right. I was pretty quick, but I think probably
that must have been a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago. So I think my body build now is probably more suited to a prop.
Let's ask Pete as well. Pete Emmett, where would you play, Pete?
It's a bit of a strange, it's a bit of a strange one for me, really, because I don't believe that I should be talking to a fish about where I'd like to play rugby, to be honest. So I think I'm going to leave this one.
Well, let me just say thank you very much, Pete, and it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. It's always a pleasure spending any time with you whatsoever. Thank you to Jonesy and Keith for coming down, and big thanks to Keith Mason for letting us down as well. Cheers, Mason. I love you, mate. Won't forget to sit anytime soon. But yeah, it's been emotional. RugbyAM.co.uk. The show's going to be up there within a day. Give me a day, Emma, please, before you start moaning at me. I love you, really. But we're getting please, if you would like to win a Sydney Roosters shirt fully signed by this season's squad, including SPW, Minicello, everyone else, all you've got to do is go onto our site and register for free, and you could win yourself a Sydney Roosters shirt. The draw will be made on the first live TV show that we're going to be doing, which is going to come up in May. Finishing off there, Keith, how excited are you? Finally, from when we used to get up at 7 a.m. on a morning and go to the old Frequency studio to finally be sat in that meeting saying, you know what, we're going to start filming in May. How excited is there any? Because you are one of the best blokes I've ever met, but you're also, I've never heard you get excited about anything. Did you get even slightly excited about? Because me and Jonesy, we are enthusiasm embodied, right? But Keith, did it stir in your little, inside, anything inside you? Did anything stir for TV?
No. I don't need to be enthusiastic. That's where you two come in. I like to keep you two grounded. You two are the enthusiastic ones. I'm a bit like Chewy. He's Mr. Enthusiasm as well. He gets in the mix.
Yeah, he's enthusiastic.
You need to keep you two with your feet on the ground. See, when you're always ringing me up and I can't get a word in edgeways anyway, so I just get a little bit bored of listening to your voice though sometimes.
Cheers, mate. Pete, will you come on the TV and like just be part of the show and like come in, because our studio's actually in Halifax. So
yeah,
it's not far to
I'd love to, mate. It's been fantastic tonight.
Have you enjoyed it?
Really
honestly?
enjoyed it. Great to be here with three big characters as well, and it's been really good fun. I've loved it. Thank you for inviting.
Have
me.
you sent your tweet off Keith's phone yet?
No, I don't know how to use phones yet. I'm from Halifax, we're not familiar with them. I'm going to have a crack later on with it.
Right, we'll get it on now. Thank you for listening to everybody. We'll see you very soon. Next week we've got Josh Chandler, Dan Sadgerson. Josh didn't come in this week because he had to see a specialist about his knee, so he's down in Wales right now. But he's here next week with Dan Sadgerson. It's going to be a great show. Catch you then. Thank you very much.